Hey there, my name is Cynthia Veronica, and welcome to another story time. For those of you who don't know me, I have a 3-year-old daughter named Samantha and a 5-year-old son named Sebastian. And Sebastian just happens to have achondroplasia, which is the most common form of dwarfism. And for this story time, I want to talk to you about the time that a grown man, yes, an adult, actually pointed, stared, and laughed at my 2.5-year-old son. And not only did he do this, no, it wasn't just him. He had 2 children with him. And so he basically modeled this awful behavior to these 2 children. I also want to talk to you about how I reacted then, and knowing the life tools that I know now, how I wish I had actually reacted. So I mentioned that this happened when Sebastian was about 2.5 years old. And since Sebastian was born, we've been to Disneyland about half a dozen times. I mean, we basically have gone to a Disney theme park about once or twice a year since he was born. I mean, pandemic aside, we haven't actually been to Disneyland or any theme parks since the pandemic. But now that I think about it, I could actually probably create 100 different story times just from my theme park experiences, because when you have a child with differences and you combine that with large crowds, you basically get things like picture taking, pointing, staring, commenting. I mean, the whole gamut. You name it, we've experienced it. So for this particular story time, my family and I basically just wanted to experience the magic of Disney. And so we ended up going to a theme park. So one of the things we did when we were there was we attended one of the shows, the Enchanted Tiki Room, you know, the one with the parrots. And it was a fun show to watch. We all had a really good time. And then afterwards we decided some of us wanted to go to the bathroom. So we all went as a group, and I didn't have to go, and Sebastian, he was 2.5, he wasn't potty trained until he was 3, and I at that point didn't need to change his diaper, so I waited outside while my other family members went to the restroom. So my other family's members go to the restroom. It was my mom, my dad, my grandma, my sister, brother-in-law, their kids. I think Sebastian's dad was there as well. So everyone goes, and Sebastian and I stay behind, waiting right outside the bathroom because we don't have to go. So as I'm waiting outside, you know, waiting for my other family members to come out, I hear a voice of a man, and it's getting closer and closer. And he's basically saying, "Look at that kid, look at that kid, ha 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 ha, look at that kid." I turn and I see a man walking towards me, pointing and laughing. And not only is he laughing and pointing at my child, but he's got 2 children with them too. It was a boy and a girl, I remember that, and they had to be around the same age, maybe 7 and 8 years old. And they were following along what he was doing. They were also kind of pointing and laughing. They weren't saying, "Look at that kid." The adult was saying that, but these kids were laughing and pointing along. So he gets to about maybe 5 feet away from me. And then after a few seconds, he just turns and walks away, continues laughing as he's walking away. And honestly, you guys, this happened so fast. And a lot of these moments actually happen really fast. It's usually seconds. And so my reaction, it takes a long time for me to even process what's happening. Because when these things happen, people will take their photo and leave. They'll say their comment and then leave. And I'm usually not expecting it. So it usually takes me a minute to even process it. So what I did in this situation was, first I looked behind me. Okay, there's nothing funny behind me. In fact, there's nobody behind me because I was up against a fenced area and there was just a grassy area behind me. So no one should have been behind me anyway because it was sort of a restricted area. There was actually a wooden pole kind of in front of me. And I thought maybe there's a picture of something funny on this pole since it's right next to me. And I turn and look, and there's nothing on this wooden pole. And then I start to come to the realization, oh my God, he was doing it to my child. He was pointing and laughing at my child. And then the shock just turned to rage. And as I'm processing it, family members start coming out of the restroom. I turn to my dad and he says to me, "What happened?" Because I looked visibly upset. And I told him what happened and he said, "Where did this guy go?" But by then he was so long gone, he was just lost in the crowd. But I just remember being upset and telling my family members, "I can't believe this guy just did that. And I can't believe he did this with his niece and nephew or kids or whoever these children were to him." I was shocked and explaining to them in anger. I just wanted to strangle him. I thought, how can anyone do this to a sweet, innocent 2.5-year-old? So at that point, no one can really do anything about it. My family members kind of tried to comfort me, but basically, since this guy was long gone, all we could really do was try to figure out what ride to go on next and continue on our walk around the theme park. But I'm not gonna lie, the anger stayed with me for a while as we continued walking around the theme park. So here's a little life tool formula that I learned much later. A thought or belief plus a feeling or emotion equals a behavior. A thought or belief plus feeling or emotion equals behavior. So this is just one of many life tools that you can apply to certain situations, and it's such a powerful tool. Most people don't actually realize that they can actually control their thoughts and their emotions. Not many people realize that we have the power within ourselves to do this. The reality is our thoughts fuel our feelings, which fuels our behavior. So first, let's talk about how I felt and reacted in this situation. So the thought I had was, I cannot believe an adult would approach a child this way. So now let's talk about the emotion. Emotion is shock, disbelief, anger, fear for Sebastian's future. And how did I behave? I didn't do anything. I said something to my parents. I was less present with my child. I basically felt powerless and I shrank. So here's what I should have done. I'm gonna choose a different thought which will stimulate a different feeling as well as a different behavior. And so this is how I can shift to a more empowered way of being. So the thought I could have had is, this person is curious, uneducated, maybe in pain. Another thought I could have had is, my family is complete and whole, just the way we are. And that's a beautiful thought. Okay, so now we've established the thoughts. What emotions do we get from these thoughts? For me, it's, I feel empowered, I feel confident, I feel strong, and I feel proud. And what behavior comes from it? The behavior could be composed, calm, patient, loving, respectful, and understanding. So reflecting on this, I started to think, maybe this person, this adult, had hidden pain. And maybe it's just pain that needs to heal, and it has nothing to do with my child. It has everything to do with them. Another thing to note is children feel it. Children feel your behavior. They're not just seeing it, they also feel it. So it wasn't just the adult man modeling the awful behavior to the two children. I realized that I myself was modeling feelings of pain and shame to my own child. So when he's in these situations, he's seeing me as the model, feeling this way, he's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions. All right, sorry guys, my camera just died. But basically what I was saying was, I know it's really hard as a parent to not be angry or hurt or upset when someone acts this way towards your child. But it's not necessarily a shift that happens overnight, or at least it wasn't for me. It's something that you just need to work on little by little over time, work on healing, work on understanding your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, on following this formula in various situations. And over time, you will see that you will start to think, to feel, and behave in a more empowered way. So we'll definitely talk about this in another story time in the future, because there's so much to touch on this. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.